Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award Winners Roundtable discussion. So my name is Heather Campbell. I'm originally from Inuit Nunangat, and I currently live in Northwest River, not Nunangat, Labrador. Although we are all joining remotely from across North America today, I would like to acknowledge the land on which the Inuit Art Foundation is currently located on the ancestral and traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, who are the original owners and custodians of this land. Today, this place is home to many, including a diverse urban Indigenous community of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. So we're thrilled to be hosting this discussion with the three winners of the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award, a biennial prize that supports the practice of an Inuk artist by facilitating opportunities for artistic development and career growth. Established in 2014 by generous members of the Inuit art community and with support from the RBC Emerging Artists, this award honors the life and work of the late Kenojuak Ashevak and her unparalleled contributions to the cultural life and arts of Inuit Nunangat and beyond by providing funding to artists to expand their careers and reach new audiences. Our moderator for this discussion today is Tarralik Partridge, an Inuk artist, curator, and poet, originally from Kenojuak, Nunavik, Quebec. She's currently the Associate Curator of Indigenous Art with Inuit Art Focus at the Art Gallery of Ontario. Before joining the AGO in 2022, she served as director of the Nordic Lab at Gallery Saw Gallery and adjunct curator at the Art Gallery of Guelph. She has also worked as communications director for Abatak Cultural Center and editor-at-large for our own Inuit Art Quarterly. So thanks, everyone, and now over to Tarralik. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Hi, as Heather mentioned, I'm Tarralik Partridge, and I'm a curator and a writer and an artist. I'm so happy to be here today with these three winners of the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award. I just want to, first of all, acknowledge that it's really Kenojuak Ashevak's legacy that has made this whole thing exist, because yes, it's wonderful that something was set up in her name, but it's the power of her work that has really carried a lot of Inuit art forward and has inspired so many younger artists, and her creative force is something that still lives in the world. And I'm so thankful that we are able to see her work. I've been really lucky to see a lot of her work up close in person. And it's just really wonderful that so many people can still work in the Inuit art field, partly because of the groundwork that she laid. So I just wanted to say that. So our three winners of the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award are Laakkuluk WIlliamson Bathory, Tarralik Duffy, and Ningiukulu Teevee. And welcome to all of you. I wonder if you would all like to introduce yourselves a bit better than I can.
Laakkuluk medyo kapunga, takaliw kama, Steffiu, nulia nga, ako tak igimak amaang na tube. Anana nga, madi, kalun nito yung makapunga, akago 18 man na, anana, ako kitong miutawak, atataga kasunaga luwakso ni, pabinok ti dusong mitan ni kuwas. Sanang wakti yung nga, unik kakti yung nga, di man na. Amay.
Okay, perfect.
To salve. Awangale at saka Tarralik Duffy. Kalo natin ito, Adina. Anan ka. Let me tell you. My name is Tarralik Duffy. Many people know me as Adina. I think it's kind of funny that a lot of Inuit call me Adina and a lot of Kaluna call me Tarralik. But I am originally from Coral Harbor. That's my home. And I am tethered, for better or worse, to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And I don't know, what do? I do whatever I want. I do writing, art.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. So I'm not very good at introductions, but I'm very happy to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Hey.
All right, awesome. Ning.
Vanga,
Vanga.
My name is Ningiukulu Teevee, man, Kinyanitanga. Of course, Chachalang to man, mutas in New Silmacha.
Namaste.
I don't know what else.
Perfect. So the reason that we were all supposed to get together is to talk about your experience with each of your experience with winning the award. What was it like for you? Did it change something in your life? What have you been up to since you won? And what does it mean to you to follow in the footsteps or to be inspired by or supported by the work that Kenojuak had done? And anybody can answer any part of that question. What was it like to win? Was it fun?
I was actually going to go first because I want to. No, but I was just thinking about this today. I was actually present for every win because I was in Toronto vending at AGO when Laakkuluk was announced for the Kama, and there was I was vending, which is very stressful. But I do remember at that time I kind of was wondering, how do people win these awards? It was still a mystery to me, kind of, And then, of course, I was there for my own win in a way, but it was a little bit at a distance because it was during COVID. So just very much like now, I was just in my room by myself. And then I was there for Ningiukuluk's win, which was also crazy because I was in the middle of finishing the show Gasoline Rainbows and not sewing up to the very last minute, but almost. So very different feelings for all three experiences. But I like what my Bakuluk said. Kenojuak's presence is palpable, like ipinangma throughout it all, through every win. That was the thing. It's almost like this heavy spirit, but also very light. I don't know how to explain it. It kind of reminds me of Pentecostal Holy Ghost church meetings when we're all enraptured, and everyone's like sort of caught up in the spirit. That's what it reminds me of, probably because inusirilok tanga sanangwak taktangi ipinang matasuli, just like my Abakuluk said. And I often quote my friend Henry Nakulak saying, some pieces of art are alive. And I feel like every time she put her pen to paper, there was a life force being put down. So I don't know if that's quite the answer, but I felt I was alone in my room, but I did not feel alone.
I felt like I didn't deserve to win because I've seen the other finalists, their artwork is kind of beautiful. I know Maureen Grubel's work. I've seen her. I met her before, and that young man, Billy. Like I've seen their works then when we were being longlisted and shortlisted. They were awesome works, and we live in the same community. It's so, she opened the world's doors into ours, instead of the other way around. I would like to believe that. She's a great inspiration and a very important one. Kausi madauta timan Inuit tanang watangini. Kojan nami kapia susunga. I was afraid. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going on and on. It was awesome.
Aliana.
Wangali.
Ah.
It came as a surprise. It was it came out of nowhere. But the thing is, the timing was very it wasn't a coincidence, I don't think, because we had just finished working on the retrospective exhibition of Kenojuak and Timothy Bitula at the Art Gallery of Ontario, Tarralik Partridge and a number of others, and myself co-curated that show. So we were very intimately involved in looking at her work and seeing how she and Tim, just by being themselves throughout all of these incredible processes and experiences that they went through, created paths for us as Inuit artists to follow and to expand upon. So I remember Kamagalu, Dakalislu, we sat for a long time thinking about how to name this exhibition. And finally we were like, you know what? It's their gifts to us. They give us so much, even in their afterlife. They give us so much. So we did that, and we had this spectacular time together, communing with their art and eating netchiminuk on the floor at the Art Gallery of Ontario. And then in the midst of all of that, it's almost like her spirit stood up and said, okay, you are making art. Keep doing it. Yeah. Amen.
Do you think that winning that award and getting recognition in that way had an effect on your recognition in the art world in general?
That's not a focus for me about what kind of recognition I get. That's a byproduct of the work. The work is very much in terms of questioning myself, challenging myself, seeing what can come out in a different way. And so I was able to continue on that path of questioning and create a show, a performance piece with very dear collaborators of mine. So that was really powerful for me.
That's a good question. Yeah, there's sort of an unbelievable quality to winning something, especially when you struggle with self-doubt, I suppose. Not even really self-doubt. I think some people confuse that with like, you're kind of like this sniveling character, but a lot of times for me, it's like I could make jewelry, I could write, I have several little hustles that I could do to survive. And winning the award, for me, it helped me really, it gives you the confidence to be like, okay, this is a real path that I could take and invest in these ideas and take them seriously, not just always like sort of write them off as kind of silly or not good enough or not whatever enough. And Abakuluga, she hears a lot of that stuff coming from me. So I think winning, there was a lot of tears after winning. Sense of guilt too, which was really strange, I think, because I was used to the hustle of like selling one pair of earrings or finishing the one essay that's due so you can pay the rent. And then winning the award like this, it sort of gives you a little bit of space to be like, okay, take the space. Now, what do you really want to do? And do that thing that you really want to do that not only you want to do, but other people are saying, yeah, do it. We like what you're doing. So there's a validation there, which is great. But yeah, kanuk, yeah.
Nahaglakan yung kaya. Matuingat sa uti kasi binitiluwi. Nui kalaw ta kasi binaktusa ka ma. Galing kalosto nga. I felt the same way as Tarralik. Kanokle, how do they win? That was one for me too, but and I was getting by is fine, but just sometimes the struggle is hard. So this I know I forget some parts of the question, but ilitarajawnakle ikazarsikal nilang amawan ni kingo madalawalagungit kalawasugu kisene atilukadne kama vichawman. Even though I'm not like looking for attention, but I get it anyway. And it's not that I'm begging for attention. So it's just that for me, it's I have to get by, and yes, just like Tarralik said, gives me a little bit of space to be loose and just get the stress off part of my shoulders and give more room to create. That's how much it's helped me. Tema.
So the money that the two of you won was like grant for you?
Grant?
Yeah.
Kano?
What was the like? What exactly did you win, and how have you been able to use it?
Oh yeah.
I want to. I was really wanted to buy an outboard motor because
Yes.
really for real, we have a
And,
canoe, but we need a motor. But that didn't happen. It's we have other pressing issues like mobility, me getting on in age. Anyway, ended on a vehicle and it quad for us to get around, because we need to get around. I live that way near the other end of King 8, and it seems far when you don't have your former muscles. So, people know that, it's I've just been selfish, I guess, just wanting to be a little bit of this burden that I've been carrying, ease off. So there, I said it.
But I think that is a strange thing that I didn't expect to feel, is when you're used to hustling or like not just getting by, but like just paying the rent, paying for groceries, paying the heat bill, maybe going out a little bit, but nothing too like. So when you get like a little bit of space, a bigger chunk of money, there was strange for me. I felt almost depressed, or I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt guilty because I bought a couch. I never bought a couch in my life. I'm in my 40s. I mean, I bought like secondhand couches that I didn't really like, but I just bought them because they were there. And so I ordered this couch that I wanted. And I remember for 3 days, I just felt so weird. I was like almost repenting for buying the couch. And then I waited a while to buy this laptop. But I think it's sort of that trope of starving artists. And I remember my Ambakuluk had said to me, like, we don't want artists to be just surviving. Like, we truly want them to be thriving. But it takes a while to get used to that. Because you do, I think there's a weird sense of guilt. Or like you said, you feel selfish. And or whatever, because you're finally sort of indulging your needs. But I do remember the first time I did win an award was for my writing, the Sally Manning Award. It was not that much money, it was $1,000. But I remember being like, I don't want to just spend this money. Like, I wanted to invest it back in myself. And so that's when I took that money and I designed and made leggings, because I was like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. Now I have $1,000. I'm gonna buy leggings, and then because it's like this, I have no more reason not to do this. And I think not just as women, but maybe as mothers or whatever, or people with family, a lot of times you want to give to others or like take care of other people or take care of what's necessary. So investing in an idea can sometimes feel scary, but winning the award, it was also good with the sense of like, you get to do what you want to do. And sometimes as an artist, you just make something to make money. There's that difference where it's like you're just making this to make money, but then sometimes you can make something because that's what you really want to make, whether it makes money or not, which is mostly what I like to do. But sometimes it's like I didn't feel like selling bones or making earrings or writing some essay that I didn't necessarily feel like writing, but you just do what you have to do to get by. I've completely forgotten what the original question was now.
I think it's a major change between when I won and then afterwards, because when I won, the money wasn't for me personally. I had to create like a art project from it. So I spent the $10,000 that I won on bringing collaborators and paying them to work with me to make a show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so that's how I used it. I didn't myself for it.
You didn't feel guilty because you did what you had to do. Yeah, we had a little bit of a freedom. But I think the second part of my award was the Winnipeg, the residency. So that sort of brought in and of itself like a different kind of pressure because I wanted to live up to the award. Now I have to make a show that is worthy of this honor. And also not just worthy of the honor, but something that I'm proud of, because I'm most driven by my own idea, the idea, that thing that goes, ooh, that's bothering you, or that little light bulb that goes off. That's what I live for, which is why I love like Ningiukulu's work, because I'm like, damn, I'm so jealous of that light bulb, or the muse, as they say, or the spirit, or whatever that is. I love ideas. I think that's the magic, is the idea, the concept, whatever it is, and then bringing it to life is what we have to do. So I didn't know that. Laakkuluk Ashevak.
Yeah, I won $10,000 to make a project that I'm very proud of.
I think, did we all buy laptops? No, you didn't get to buy a laptop?
Canadian North made a lot of money from me.
Boo! Oh no. Canadian North, just obviously.
I'm wondering, what is it like? Like, how important is it to see an award that is specifically for Inuit? I have my own feelings, but I want to know what your feelings are about that. Like when you see that there's something specifically for Inuit artists and from across the country, not just one region.
Yeah, it's so important because I think so many of us make that big decision to make art for our own community, by Inuit, for Inuit. So to have the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award being that gaze into our community by our community is this really beautiful thing. yeah, it's important. That's for sure.
I think it gives you more of this sense of what's the word, like a foundation. So like those muskox that are circling their young, you know, you have that sense of protection, validation, confidence. There's nothing like being around other Inuit, and then when other Inuit are supporting you, it feels I think it feels like two ways for me. It feels comforting, and then also keeps you on your toes because Inuit are so ayungi. So like Inuit can support you, but there's a little bit of who we are that, you know, that every Inuk is thinking like, oh, they could do it too, or they could do it even maybe a little bit better, you know, because Inuit are so, especially with my sewing. Oh my God, there's a little bit of like, don't look too closely at my stitches. You know, but there's a sense of security for me with it because you feel like you're not just on this path all by yourself.
Thinking that Laakkuluk so oh yes, I still wanted to back out of this when I first read that I've been nominated because I have no idea how I would I know I have ideas, but how am I going to make it happen? And you know, I'm so close off, which is my personal decision. Like the reason I wanted to kind of back out from being a nominee was because so I don't know what I'm going to do with the money. What am I supposed to do with the money? And that was my fear. Big part of my guilt. I don't know, this complex I have, but there are some good people out there who have excellent ideas, like the one right next to me, and she has great ideas. And there's only so much that I can do, and that are better than me, that I feel are better.
Not even like, hello. Just kidding.
You know, Ningiukulu, I wanted to say something to you. Because I've heard you say like, oh, I'm interested in photography. I know you've done, and you're interested in doing different kinds of printmaking or other kinds of ways to produce your work. The thing that I find with creative work is that you have to find a way to give yourself permission to try something, and you have to find a way to reach out to people who can help you realize that. So if, like you're mentioning, there's somebody with you who can support your ideas. You know, if you want to do photography, you already do it on your phone. I've seen your photos from your phone. So good. You start there, and then it leads to something else and something else and something. There's always, and especially for you, like you're so humble, but like you are like a world-class talent. There is no artist who I can point to and say that artist is more world-class than Ningiukulu, because I think of you as like just like one of the most famous artists for me. And I think that because you have such a great creative power, you could move that into other forms of creating artwork as well if you give yourself permission. And it's really that, like I teach writing workshops for spoken word, that, you know, that's poetry that people say by talking. And I always start by telling people that I'm giving them permission to write something, because people are like, oh, I don't know how to write. But like, if you can put words together, you can write something, you know? if you have a phone, you can take pictures. It doesn't matter that it's just a phone. I believe in you, and I just wanted to say that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Hila, that's what I said too. Like, adjekang ito ti silang draw limang me. Like, what for me when the award was coming up, there was no doubt in my mind who the winner was and is, and you don't have to feel any pressure about the residency too, because your body of work is already so vast. You know, if you wanted to just already, I could name like 10 things that I already love of your work that maybe the world needs to see, and we need to shout it from the rooftop. So you have a freedom, like Laakkuluk was saying, like you have a freedom to do what you want. It takes a while, I think, after winning something like this, especially when you're not used to it. But there are some weird emotions, because I think people just expect you to feel happy, excited, you know, honored, which are things that we do feel. But I think the struggle is maybe hard for people to understand, because they're like, what do you mean you feel guilty or you feel selfish, or, you know, because you're a sensitive, humble person, like Laakkuluk said, but there's nobody that compares to you. My favorite living artist, and I love Laakkuluk, same thing, like their art, it's hard when we compare each other with awards, you know, but you have something there that is truly magic. And I want to see your pictures.
Thanks. Ako na kumik.
Ano kachiwag ka?
Ditto.
Asu. Also, it's harder for pretend Inuks to get in, hey? A little harder for pretend Inuks than pretendians.
Oh my God, let's not start on that.
Yeah, no, we don't want to come.
So, what are you working on now? Anybody? What kind of, unless you don't want to share your ideas, but I'm curious, what's the thing that has you excited right now?
I have some ideas, but I haven't had chance to start since I got back. Nila suna pa Tarralik Duffy, both of you are an inspiration. I saw your work, Adina. I was so kind of, I thought when I look up close, like these are handmade. They're put together with needle and thread, and the pictures were inspiring, and so I can do something different, like besides just pen and paper. So that gave me an idea, and I shared it with my friend here, and we'll see what happens. It's monetary material.
That's what I love about art, though, because it can be anything, you know. And I like when I'm following ideas, I don't like to, if other people start doing, you know, the feeling like Kenojuak said the same thing when I was first starting drawing. I would sort of not copy her, but I like to do the big wing, like plumage a little bit. I would sit there and draw my own style. But you never know where the artistic path is gonna go. Like, I never knew I would start making jewelry from bones. I started with antler, but walking along the beach, and then I found those two little bones. Just two of them, perfect, like little earrings. And then that became my obsession for years, and it still is. And then with the writing, and then it was Tarralik and Art Gallery of Guelph. She said she had asked me to make some, if I was willing to make soft sculptures, you know, and when I first heard it, I always say that I just thought it was so stupid. Like I Googled soft sculpture and I saw these ugly things. They just looked like, I was like, why would anyone want this or make this? Maybe it was the Google image search, but and then it took me a while to, I remember I had that red leather in my basement anyways, long story short, that's the best thing about art and having the ability to just follow the inspiration. And sometimes it might come from a source you're not expecting, like, oh, I want these soft sculptures, and then it just becomes an obsession. Like the bones to me were like a gift from the ocean. Like they were just perfectly there waiting for me, but I had to do it. I had to start looking and cleaning and learning how to clean bones. And then soft sculptures, I had to get over my idea that this was kind of dumb, or that I couldn't do it. But now it's like almost all that I want to do is like take a picture that I've drawn and sew it, because I like, if you have any sort of imposter syndrome, like, oh, because a lot of times I can't draw unless I'm looking at a picture of something. Like I have to look at a picture, then I'll draw. It's hard for me to draw from, I could sometimes draw from my mind. So sometimes it makes me feel like, I don't think I'm a real artist. You know, a lot of people have, I don't even like the word artist. But then when I'm sewing, there's no doubt, like your elbows are hurting, your bleeding fingers, and takes hours and hours. And then there's that, so you've suffered. So now I feel good because it hurt me to make this. So there's no one that could take away from this, which is what I like about, where the drawing's easy. So that was my weird little path. But like, that's the most fun part about art and having the space to do art, is kind of like you've been given the, like a book looks at, the permission to kind of just chase that thing, whatever that thing is that you want to do, that's sort of whispering in your ear, you know, like whatever you want to do that you can't stop thinking about. Or it's like even like a little bit of a hint. Sometimes it's not a very loud voice. That's the best voice to follow.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. You know, that when you're working on one project, it causes, you know, waves and ripples to come out, and that causes more ripples from another stone that's been thrown. And so art projects become just like a series of ripples all around you, and before you know it, you've built up a body of work.
That was like the blubber yum. I had no intention of drawing that bubblegum blubber yum, but I was sewing that click can with the blubber pink that you guys talk about. And I was thinking about that time my auntie was eating tunuk with me, and she's like, I just love tunuk. I could chew it like a big piece of bubblegum. And that memory just sort of popped up, and then and I didn't even think it was going to be in the show, and had no time or no business to be drawing this because I had to be sewing, but I couldn't do anything else. I put everything else away, and I very hurriedly made this blubber yum drawing, but it became it's become like my favorite piece from the show.
So I was asking also, what kind of project is exciting you, or what kind of dream project do you have that maybe you're not working on yet, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this? Only share if you are not the kind of person who doesn't mind sharing your dreams. Don't share if you don't want people to know your ideas.
Not sharing. Yes.
Hey, no, it's
Okay,
sharing.
not sharing. That's fine. That's
I'll
fair.
share. I don't know. I want to write because I'm tired of sewing. I want to be cool, but I still want to sew. But I'm giving myself a tiny little bit of a break.
Yeah. What do you want to write? Do you want to write fiction or nonfiction? Poetry?
Just whatever thing I've currently obsessed with, like a short form cultural commentary on whatever I'm hyper focusing on, I suppose. And I have an avenue now that, you know, I might be able to submit to. So that's kind of been tickling my fancy. So I'm excited about that, because it's been a while since I was excited about writing because of working with editors. It can be so, you know, to be edited, or but I do need editors, as we've talked about. But I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about filmmaking. I've been working on this virtual reality film for quite some time now. We made well, I guess I wrote, directed, acted, and executive produced this 8-minute virtual reality experience. They're not called films, actually, experiences, about the imaginary republic of Tarralik, a nation of Inuit lovers. And fingers crossed the funding comes through that we can make the full experience, which is like a 30-minute virtual reality story that happens inside the goggles, and you're inside the world of Laakkuluk, which is, a lot of my performance work, or a lot of the work that I've been doing is serious. Sometimes it's super scary. And so Laakkuluk is this like breath of fresh air in terms of it being political satire. It's funny, it's sexy, it's a delight to work on. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to have all the pennies drop for in the next couple of months. We'll see. Also, I'm obsessed with this beadwork. I can't put it down. It's good for me.
Is it gonna be
that-
like being in the big igloo and the lights go off? I want to be there. Scary.
Laakkuluk, your work is a lot of collaborative work, right?
Yes.
I wonder, for Tarralik and Ningiukulu, it's more like you're working kind of alone. Is it something that, like, do you feel a difference between the work that you do alone? Because you're working on your beadwork alone, Laakkuluk. Do you feel there's some sort of different energy with working collaboratively and working alone?
Yeah, collaborative work is so important to me because there's you can feel so proud of the work because everybody is bringing in the best of themselves and sharing the best of themselves, and you're creating something new and bigger than yourself. So I find it very exciting to be able to come together with loved ones and say, let's make this thing and let's try it this way. And oh my gosh, now we're going down a new avenue. I love that. And I love that we own it together. And I love that it challenges different institutions to think of ownership of art in new ways. And I love that a lot of the performance work is in the moment. You see a recording of it, it's not the same as like being there and feeling like, the blood pulsing and the energy flowing between the audience and the performers themselves. And actually, as my week was teasing me yesterday, he's like, "Oh, when you travel, you can barely sleep in a hotel bed, because you just miss your dujik, don't you?" Yes, I miss my dujik. I need to have people around me. I can't sleep without my dujik. Yeah, it's a gift to be able to be with people, that's for sure. And this, like this beadwork thing that I'm working my fingers through is it's about peacefulness. It's about just taking time to do something with my fingers and let my mind run or learn,
Almost too much. There's a madness to being alone, I think. But then I think you get so used to it. Like my mom would say, Inuk if you do things that are like kind of not Inuk, because you get so used to isolation. And then things, I can get socially hyper. I think I have a hard time calming down in a big crowd, or I can feel very emotional. And then I have a hard time, not a hard time centering myself, but a little bit, because I spend so much time alone. That's where I center myself, where I go on the Nuna by myself ish, maybe I'll have a bear watcher with me, but a lot of time spent alone. And I like that quietness, because that's where my ideas will come from. And so the only time I've done real collaborative work, I think, is when I have the shows, which is good for me because that's the push. Because I think when you're used to doing things alone, it's like, I'm just going to do this thing on your own time, and you let it come as it come. But if you have a show, suddenly you have people waiting on you, or a time limit, which is good for me because you can exercise that muscle of pushing yourself maybe more than you would if you weren't with other people. But I do sometimes it's like there's a balance there. Like I definitely am alone a lot, solitude a lot, except for my own look. But I do like it. But to nakatagtulan niko, you know, because in the Inuk way is not to be so isolated. And Kadlunat, we could live like 6 blocks from each other. You'll never see them. Like Ananakuka, if they lived here every day, I would see them. Even if we're annoying each other or not, we're still going to pull up and, you know, do what we do. And our lives are going to be woven together. But city life and Kadlunat life, it's like people just go about their own lives as though you're not like literally a few blocks away, which is very strange to me. But sometimes I get used to that too, because then it's like someone's knocking at the door. I'm like, I'm not gonna acknowledge your existence. So, but Kano.
Kind of collaborative work. I did little bits of that when Jordan McQuaid was here. That's the only thing I remember. Then three artists working on one big piece of paper, and it's kind of, you know, the other artists' works are covered, and so we had to create our own piece of that, and it's different. And when I saw what we created, when he revealed it to us, yes, I could have done better. Like 3 mismatched, 3 different subjects on one page, but being one thing. Hanuing ito, kovenando.
I think it's a little bit scary to collaborate sometimes because, like, I have that feeling like, oh, what if whatever I do just doesn't like fit in this group? I was part of a artist project with 4 other artists, one from Greenland, one from Alaska, and a couple from Nunavut, and then me. And one of the people was not even a visual artist, a writer. But we all ended up contributing to everything. So the sound, the writing, the soundtrack, which was music. It was an installation piece in Halifax, and the visual art. And it was so much fun for people to be doing stuff, and again, like giving permission to have the permission to do something that was completely out of their comfort zone. It's like at first you meet the people that you're collaborating with, and you're like looking at each other like kind of like, oh, maybe they're way better than me, or maybe I don't know. But then you kind of get into this like energy of, once you start talking about stuff and sharing things, it just sort of like, just like any other work, even if the work that you do by yourself, it starts to have its own life. And I think it ends up being kind of the same energy as, like, for me, I feel like when you make something yourself and you do it right, like it becomes alive. And Ningiukulu, I've seen you drawing and it just comes out of you. Like you just like, it's alive already. Like it's just like, but yeah, I just wanted to say that about collaborative work. It's just, it does have another life of its own too.
I think also it's like, if we're doing any sort of comparative thing with European art making practices, is, you know, all of this ideal of the great master. Nobody did anything in isolation. Nobody does anything in isolation. There's so many people that come together to help with, the perfect, paint strokes and having people sit and model and people doing sculpting and sewing, like being outwardly collaborative, like this is one of my practices in being a collaborative artist, and everybody knows that of me, is like, yeah, I know that everybody works together with other people. And it's really important to acknowledge all of these beautiful circles of trust that we have around us.
I think about you and I have had conversations about this, like Inuit art has grown, the Inuit art movement has grown up in a very specific set of circumstances. But at the base of that is that in our culture, we are expected to be creative.
Yeah.
Because we come from a land where you have to be creative. You have to have creative solutions right on the edge of your brain for any circumstance that might come up. And
we're trained in it from babyhood onward.
And so I think of, like immense talent of Inuit artists doesn't just come out of nowhere. It comes out of that. And I think of Inuit artists as, even if we haven't gone to art school or whatever, as community taught, like talents and knowledge from our communities.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or if that makes sense.
Like that I'm going to be working with rotting bones or like processing things that might be disgusting to people. But, I grew up with my nanachak working on fox skins, or, Kisidiribik across from the school was so stinky. Like we would go for cultural ed and the Ningiuks would be there. This was in the 80s, so they're smoking. It was dark. They're listening to the local radio. And I would be like this little Kaldunangayok girl, just so like, oh, it stinks, like, and I hated being there. And then I remember my anachak admonishing me to warn her, you got to tell me before you bring Kalduna over, or like Inuk, like people who aren't from town. And then I didn't realize that I was being raised up in a sort of learning how to process animals and animal bones, and not being squeamish around things that are rotting. I mean, sure, she was not gathering beluga spines with maggots, but I remember I just realized as an Inuk, it's like you see the value in something that might look like just garbage. And there's a story that I always remember. I was in my 20s and I asked my nanachak, I would always ask my tarachak, always only him. I never thought to ask her. Then one day I asked her, because it was just me and her, and she said one day, this totally changed the way I think I saw the world and how I approached everything. They were very poor. I never even thought of my nanachek being poor, or my mom being poor, because I always saw them with money or a house or food. I never knew them in that time. And she said when my mom was little, they didn't have very much food, and so she would go to the Hudson Bay trading post to get to go through the garbage, because she didn't have thread. And so she would find the discarded towels in the garbage, and she would pull the threads out from the towels to use to sew. And I'm just like, completely blew my mind, because I'm like, what? Because I was such a wasteful kid too. I grew up in the 80s, like everything is garbage. I'm not thinking about saving something or using something, if it's gross. And they're like the original hipster dumpster divers, I guess. But also she said that they would make the windows for the kammak out of the seal intestines and sew them long ways, and then my nanaku, they didn't have food, so they were chewing on walrus skin. I think that really, for me, it might not have seemed like a seed for your artistic path, but it's the way you approach life. Suddenly you think, oh, maybe this could be something else, or this could be used in a different way. And that's a very Inuk way of thinking, I guess, that I didn't realize. You know how the elders are teaching you and you don't realize they're teaching you. But that one story in particular really changed the way I thought about life, because I would never think to like de-thread an old towel, and use it as thread, because why would we need to, because we had everything in that time. But then it led me down this thing where you can look at bones that are looking kind of disgusting and you see earrings, or you see whatever you see, like a ulu handle or a pana handle or whatever. So blathering on and on now.
Naliwaka sivulitit.
Oh, kaya si Mona.
Yes, we all have, maybe not all, but we have come from beginnings that are not so well. That kind of helps shape us into who we are. And we might be surrounded by people, but we feel isolated. And kaya gawin na takalik, uhumay tukut, tapo na ro takisene, azuna na mot, de kwang de karte azuna na mata, the govutit, you are here because they strived to survive. And there's no one perfect. And even people we think who are, well, maybe true, they might have perfect lives, but I felt isolated because uvangale kang uso to hasi magamatao and ilan ni banga they made to doing it not the only one. So I felt isolated and different from because life is the progress. That's what a teacher told me. I was so naive being in school, grade 5, and I blamed the whole problems on the white society. But it's life is the progress. We are progressing. We have to adjust. We have to change. And so in order to change, we have to help ourselves and, grab opportunities that are there. Hoeveel het op Tarralik goed, Dillo naar de goed. Nu het is teko goed ik doe niet dat akposasi mazaka hanuingi nama hanuingi tuku hanuingi tusi akahatusi talehatusi nyugunatusi. They made it one kind of feel free to translate. And that just came out all of a sudden from the heart, though. Laakkuluk.
Imato. Nakasakatartungana. Wow, ilukusin ni. Surusitama. Akachitatarpud. Akausitartartud. Ama ugiartarata sirusinnu ila sortu. Ningal muarstuta sirusinnu kisulimata imanna. Tagu atorluta sirusid amaru innangorata ila Inuit Nunangat ilikartunuku qanoruna inuneq namineqsanaasinnaavaat. So, like talking about how from the moment of birth, we are given all of these tools for learning where our creativity comes from, because each one of us is given an individual song from an individual. Akajid, akaujid, these crazy little songs that only one person sings to you, and you might have like 10 different of these songs. So you're given this whole like repertoire of creativity being shouted and sung at you. And then Ugiyamnuk, this thing where you're teaching children how to do things, but by doing the opposite, being mad. And that teaches the kids that, actually you should be calm. Or, when they're learning how to do a zipper up, you zip it down and then they have to do it up again. And you just keep on teasing them. And so that gives all children and gives us as adult Inuit this whole breadth of creativity, like just little things like that. Never mind how we have to be adaptive because of colonial poverty, or adaptive because of weather, or, being able to make something out of anything. Something out of anything.
Yeah. That's basically the foundation I think I had too, because I just didn't know what to do with my life. And I would think, like, what if my ancestors had a power tool, because my sister I always tell this story. She had a drummo and an antler. And even though I didn't know how to use it, I thought, well, I might as well try. But the driving force of everything I was doing at that time, when I was first starting to be more creative, was just I had the time and I had the resources, Sharpies or a piece of paper, an antler, it might not be the perfect thing that you want. And I had no idea how to use a drum. Oh my God, my poor sister. I didn't know how to secure the bit properly, and I just went flying, and she just like turned around. I'm lucky I didn't take anyone's eye out, but that's the training, right? It's like it didn't matter if I knew how to do it or not. The thing was, me and my Laakkuluk, we always laugh about this. We always talk about, people talk about these great ancestors. They were so ayungni, they could sew the best, but we had ancestors that weren't so good at things. They had crooked stitches and they barely made it through the winter. They had ugly parkas, people made fun of their ugly mitts and whatever. And those are the ancestors.
They still survived.
Yeah, and they carried us here. And those are my
they were very artistic.
Yeah, very creative. They had to be creative because they didn't have the good patterns, so they had to make their own pattern. So it's like they don't get enough credit, because it's not the survival of the fittest, the survival of whoever the heck made it through.
Survival of the funniest.
Yeah, the ugliest.
So I think we have time for some questions, but before I ask audience participants, I wonder if each of you have any questions for each other.
Ooh.
Hangadulya ni kanano kalokpisi?
Katunap.
Ba't sinuburafta kaya ka po si?
Inayatato ka ma.
$5. Yes.
Ipi apika lagi Tarralik partridge. Suli katachahatakin.
Once in a while. Do I throat sing still? Yeah, once in a while. Kisian inutuvo nga to me. Yeah.
Ati, tusalok lang.
No. Kinalo.
Are you still writing and doing talks on your poems?
Yeah, I haven't for a while. I did a little bit earlier this year, and I'm thinking I should take some time to do that. So thank you for the reminder. But it would be fun to do like something with you. Like Laakkuluk is joking, and when are we going to go to her place? But it would kind of be fun just to go there, right? Like,
come be
and
with
the thing
me.
that I say is
collaboration.
anybody can write. Like if you can put words together, you can write something. And the thing about spoken word is like, you don't have to write perfect writing or perfect punctuation or spelling or anything, because nobody's going to see it.
Mhm.
We should have
Okay,
a
somebody give us a grant so we can go to Laakkuluk.
I know. Wala akong mapa.
Yeah.
How about for Laakkuluk? When have you been performing again? I know it's you have your own challenges, you know, with physicality, you know, and the difficulties of life and everything that, you know, continuing on when the world is spinning. Wondering, because I know for me, one of the things I really admire about you is the physicality of, because that's one thing I make shrivel up into myself a little bit, like when you get kangusuk of your own whatever. And I love watching when you're in your element and scaring the audiences,
Yeah.
enthralling them.
I was just thinking, I haven't done Nook in a long time. I do Nook if anybody wants me to.
How about we all go there to your house? With
Yeah, last
We'll do
year
a workshop.
I toured one of my shows quite a bit. Where did I go? I went to Northern Ireland, Germany, Chile, Norway, and then that was one show where I did a lot of like performance after the pandemic. I guess it was still during the pandemic. And then I have another show that I'm directing that I'm not performing in, which is really beautiful. It's named Kauma. I wrote it with Vinny Kharita about his family. It's a very powerful piece about family. But yeah, I haven't done performance in a while. I have the itch. I wouldn't mind getting back into it, that's for sure.
Ati, we should come to you, Chanukia.
Yeah. Good idea.
Have you ever seen that Never Cry Wolf movie?
Oh, by heart they know it.
Yeah, but the part she reminded me of is Nakalulak when he was trying to survive in Nunavut and he was eating daving nuts, and the Inuk guy goes, "Tan daving nere hukto." And then the guy said, what did he say? What did he say? And then the translator said, he says, "Good idea." As kids, it was our favorite part. That's the power of translators, you know. They can say whatever they want.
You better make that into a t-shirt, Takarik. He said,
Tan-
good idea.
Good idea. I should.
Laakkuluk, do you have a question for any of your co-panelists before I go to the question from the audience?
I would say, let's see. What would put you in a place where you feel uncomfortable but make something new? Where's your boundary of comfort? I don't know.
Ooh, I like
As a
that
thought
question.
What a question.
That's an uncomfortable question.
Oh. I've never asked.
Uvangali, the thing that makes nothing. Oh, sorry, now you're saying the thing that makes me uncomfortable. I like to make that. That's why I liked art in the first place. I know we talked about no one's in isolation, which is true. Like I am alone a lot, and I create alone. But without people buying the jewelry or being interested, then you aren't truly alone. And when I would when I would collect bones, as soon as anyone found out that I was making stuff, everyone would give me stuff. I was always supported right from the beginning. Give me bones, give me ivory, give me scraps, you know? So I did always feel that sense of community. But the thing that makes me feel uncomfortable is just the attention on me sometimes, like, because it's a lack of, like, I like just to look at the thing that I made is already uncomfortable enough. But then suddenly you're in a crowd full of people and there's cameras and all this stuff. And you'd think that it would be fun, but I turn into a completely different person, I feel like, that I don't like, and not even a little bit. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's being alone so much. But the thing that made me uncomfortable is the shows, because you have to have the deadline, and then the certain pieces, and they have to fit within a theme. So it has made me more not calculated. What's the word? Yeah, you have to have more of a, this is what you're going to make. This is when it's going to be done, which is challenging for me, and it's uncomfortable for me, but it also it makes things happen in a way that I would not do on my own. You know, like my Laakkuluk and AGO, like you have to have it done by May 21st, you know, and then having the meetings with the teams and stuff. And it's like, that's when I feel kind of spoiled, because it's like, I get to have the luxury of sort of staying home and doing my thing, but there's a different kind of stress, I guess, when you have people waiting for what you're going to produce. And then I always think it's going to take less time than it does. I don't know if that answers your question.
Good one. But I'm most uncomfortable talking about when people ask me, what's this drawing about? What's this prints about? Kind of, I get these ideas from stories that I've heard or live up here, or strange ideas that I get sometimes. Some of them personal, but the ones that most make me uncomfortable is having to tell stories of the drawings of stories that I did. Because I have to make it really short, and telling it will be, in that telling it, I can't tell the story the way it was told, the way the storyteller, there's those songs attached to that in their stories that they've heard from way, way before. There's only one person now that I know can tell these stories. So I'm uncomfortable talking about my drawings.
You're uncomfortable, but you do so well. I remember that story when you were talking about the red fish eyes on that one print.
Oh, that's because you were there.
Oh, okay. So I have to be there. It was such a good
Ela.
story.
And it was, me. I couldn't see all the other faces because the light was in my face.
I know. It's actually perfect when you're on the stage and there's like, you just don't know how many people are there and you can't see them. That's perfect. I guess do this like that too.
You deserve accolades, so Laakkuluk, because you are like a matriarch to us, even though you're like our sort of same age. But like there's a encouragement and safety that you've cast out and giving us permission, and I don't know. But there's invaluable, and same with Laakkuluk, because there's a discomfort, I think, sometimes when you're have to operate in a world that maybe you're not used to operating in. So, Nakot
me.
Yeah.
So I think there's only one question in the Q&A. At what point in life did each of you realize that art was going to be your calling, so to speak? I like that question.
I had answered this question before. I think I had always had a sense that I kind of wanted to be an artist, but I didn't know how people became artists. And my older sister was an artist, so I thought that spot was already taken. And that was sort of my idea about what art was. Like, oh, I can't be the artist. She's already the artist. If someone was already something, I couldn't be it. So I wandered around my life kind of lost, and I felt overwhelmed by choices because I couldn't choose one thing, and I thought you had to choose one thing. So I stumbled into it by accident. I feel like when I was at my most lost in my life as far as like knowing what to do. I didn't know how people had careers. I didn't know how they had houses. I didn't know how people did things. Like it just, for some reason, it was a mystery to me. And I found those bones, and I wasn't even thinking this was going to be something anyone else wanted. I just thought they were beautiful, and I wanted to clean it and find it. And because I liked going out on the land and finding it, salvaging it and turning it into something beautiful. And so all the things that I was doing in isolation, I realized what was being supported now. Like people wanted the earrings, or they wanted what I made, which is kind of surprising to me. But then that was the first encouragement. Drawing with my sister, who was the artist too. Like I didn't even like my drawings when I hated that. So sometimes to this day, I hate what I draw and I don't like it. But sometimes I just have to do it. I want to draw a can, or I want to draw this. Like it's something that will harass me. So I don't know if there was a moment that I could pinpoint, but there was always something kind of brewing. Like maybe it's a discontent with the regular life and regular jobs, but within that you still do the regular stuff. Like I was a waitress for many years. I like that. I really like, because I like things that I'm not so attached to. I don't like committing to things very deeply. I like to work for 8 hours and be like, see you later, suckers, I'll take my tips, and nobody owns me. Like I don't want to be owned by anybody, I don't want to be bossed by anyone in any real way. So that's why I like being a waitress. So maybe that was sort of the artistic spirit and I hated when people would call me a free spirit. I was like, that's so annoying, because it's like sort of this trope or whatever. But I don't know, from a young age, I suppose. But I didn't know what the hell I was doing or when it was going to, and it was very, very late that it happened. So it's luck of the draw, just chance.
Ningiukulu, the question was, at what point in life did each of you realize that art was going to be your calling? Sorry, Laakkuluk, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. Like, my grandfather was a carver, so I watched him. I tried carving a bit there, just because I saw that they were getting money for it. My dad too, I didn't know he carved until one day, and I carved with him, and I got 25 cents for it that time. But carving, I picked it up again when I had 2 kids. The other one was a baby, and I just couldn't. My hands were too Hanukkah. I couldn't. I wanted to, but it was not good for my hands. And I've also seen my father drawing. He had a drawing of this woman on our wall. Turned out that he had history with this woman. And anyways, so I've seen art. He did watercolor for his friends, and so it's been in me. And during when I was working at the school, meetings are boring. So I would just doodle and cover the whole page. And the principal, and I was kind of iligasuk, I don't know how to translate that word perfectly, but iligasuk, as he was approaching me after the meeting, and you doodle. But that started kind of the beginning of my drawing career. That I drew a couple of books of somebody else's stories, did one story of my own, I think one, with then the Baffin Divisional Board of Education. But with the co-op, there's two elements that the other one I've kind of reluctant to share. So deep and personal, but it really pushed me to where I am today. And the first part of that, I had to, seriously think about where am I going to get money from? What am I going to do? I have kids to feed. There's bills to pay, and then our Jimmy Manning, I heard him on the local radio encouraging community members to submit drawings to see if what comes out of it, and here I am.
Mm. Ito pa. Vangali.
Uh-huh.
Last week.
Yeah.
Last week.
Okay.
I had breakfast with Ananagalu, with my mom and with Lisa Hornbell from Sapmi. And Ananaga was telling Lisa about how we're named after people's souls and we take on people's characteristics through our names. And then she turned to me and she said, "Oh, she was named after a song. She has the soul of a song. So that makes sense why she's so creative."
Ooh, nice.
Kakasungalo. Yeah, it was named after a song.
To sang me.
Mhm. Another question from audience member. What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Oh my
Inuk
God.
Trenert asking this. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your family name. Trenert? Inuk Trenert.
Oh my God, what advice?
Nah, no advice for my younger self. She did it pretty good.
Aye.
Nalulakdom.
And even if I gave that advice to my younger self, I don't think it will work. So don't
True.
be
Just
shy.
no, I don't think you can. I don't know. You can't give your younger self advice like Ningiukulu said.
Mhm.
I don't think it just happens how it happens.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. That's the trouble and the beauty.
Mm. So there's one more question, and we're almost at time anyway. Time just goes fast when it's like 4 of us and 5 of us and 6 of us just hanging around
Mhm.
talking about stuff. I wish I was with you all in person. Sometime. So this other one, last question. Is there one particular creation that you sold and you wish that you kept it? And what was it?
My soul. Mm.
To the devil. Just kidding. Satan is no wonder you're so ayung eh. I used to feel that way about certain jewelry, like certain bones that you can't really replace, because of the shape or where I found them. But I had to pay the bills, so I would lament that I didn't photograph them properly sometimes. But that's it, I think.
There's this one print, a small one that I really wanted to keep, but bills need to be paid. Yeah. It's one with it looks like many little stick figures with their hands up, but it's really, and they're carrying something, but it's a caterpillar. That one I wanted to keep because it was a small piece of paper.
I don't want to be dismissive too. Na advice ako mayo for makundak sa utiduta, you know. But I think sometimes it's like we just gotta do the thing that is presenting itself to you, whatever that thing is, you know.
Yeah.
Even if you're critical of it, even if you hate it, even if nobody likes it, just always do the thing, make the thing, be busy with your hands. Aside from the things that we have to do to survive, whatever the little thing is, you know, that you're just calling on your heart, kind of calling to you, whatever that thing is, it's quiet and it's easy to ignore. Just do that thing, you know, see where it goes. That's the advice.
No regrets. No regrets.
regret. All the regrets.
No, I think
Regrets are what
truly
make
if I
you
was
a writer.
without being dismissive as well, I love myself, and so I trust myself, and so I know and me has always been me, and it's constantly evolving self. And
Yeah.
why would I advise my younger self to be different? Because I love me.
Tusuli. Just kidding. JK. Natuki sinama.
So I'm just we're pretty much done, but I just gonna read these little messages here to you all. Ning, congratulations again and hope to see you again very soon. Very best from Lori. I love you all. Ning, I love you all. Ning so much. Charlotte Disher.
Hey,
Lucy Kogler. The warmth of this conversation evening will be with me for a while. Oh, thanks so much.
Aw.
Inuk, thank you. I'm happily beating while enjoying listening to you all. So Laakkuluk, you're not alone. So inspiring, good to
Yay!
hear laughter too. Ian Marquez, thank you all very much, and all the nominees and the future nominees and winners for your enrichment of so many lives. It's been a wonderful way to visit the artistic world and recognize the joy and the pain. Best wishes. James D. It's been really beautiful listening to you all talk. Thank you for sharing your stories. Wow.
Aw. Thanks for joining us.
Lumod. Uy, nako,
Mm.
yung swak.
It's that time. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending the workshop. Thank you to the panelists and the artists.
Don't
And
go.
thank you, Tarralik, for moderating this amazing conversation. I am kind of sad because this is sort of our last event related to CAMA for this cycle. But it's been amazing, and I think it's been such a treat to hear so much Inuktitut. I know that there are people in our audience that were enjoying hearing it as well. I just moved back from Ottawa, and I actually heard more Inuktitut in Ottawa than what I'm hearing back here. So it's been a couple of years since I've heard real conversations going on. So I thank you for that too. So it's been lovely. I think that's pretty much it. So thanks again, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you at the next Inuit Art Foundation online event. Good night.
Ako, Mick.
Nakot may.
Ako, do you see?
bye.